thank you. New week.
I know. I've missed you guys. Has it been fun the last couple of weeks?
It's been a different, yeah. I enjoyed it very much. Last week, did you get the information? It was fascinating. We talked about religions and do we still rely on them and the rituals, and it was very, very interesting.
Because Robbie, you had brought that up a few weeks ago when I was on about you didn't know about.
Do I need to keep kosher still?
Right,
do I
right.
have to feel guilty for eating crab meat or a cheeseburger? Yeah. So yeah, it was good.
So have we discussed your book yet?
Yes, that was the week before.
Oh, okay. I missed that both of them. Hi, Marie. Hi, Penny.
Hi.
How's it going?
Where'd you? Why am I not hearing?
Me?
I'll turn it up. What'd you say, Marie?
It could be me. Can you hear me?
That's
I
better.
heard you both times. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't know. It's my desktop and I've updated the operating system and it's been doing quirky things. So I'm not sure how to fix it because
The same thing that happened to me, Marie. I've had more trouble since I updated. I should have stayed where I was.
yeah, I have a Mac.
Really
so-
aggravating.
Yeah, I have a Mac and it's been doing some weird things since the last update. And I've noticed even on emails, the hyperlinks are coming on the side and just all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah, really weird. I agree. Very frustrating too.
There's
Hello,
Ilona.
everybody.
Hi, Dal. And I guess Lisa's coming on. How's everybody doing?
Good. How are
Who's
you doing? How's
We
the
have-
grandbaby?
Oh, he's so cute. He's almost 4 months and he rolls over and grabs on and holds our hand and all that fun stuff. But I'm not there right now. This is my first weekend off in 4 months. So I'm happy to be home.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Lisa, you came on with funny color hair. Why was that?
That was a picture from my girlfriend's 50th birthday party. She had a unicorn theme.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, so it was fun. Maybe it was her 55th. I can't remember now.
Lisa, did I see you doing a pub run at 6 o'clock in the morning again this past weekend?
I think it's our 5th time doing it. But all my friends are in town. They arrived last week from Slovenia. And so we've been very busy.
Are they gone this morning so you can be on the call?
They're not here right now, yes, but they're here till Friday.
Oh.
So, yeah.
How fun.
Everyone.
Good.
And your grandbaby's good, Janet?
He's wonderful. Ilona has to say something.
I'll just have to ask, what's a pub run at 6 in the morning? Because like 6 in the morning, I don't get that.
It's actually called a pub crawl. And we have one bar near us that opens at 6 a.m.
Oh, geez.
That's where we start. And we generally go to about, 6, 7, 8 bars and usually finish up about 7 o'clock at night. But the upside is that we do a lot of eating as well. We eat at nearly every place we go. And so we really do pace ourselves so that we can make it. But yeah, my friend and I started it in 2015 and people faithfully show up to go. So not the only crazy person at 6 a.m. getting a cocktail, and the bars are busy at 6 a.m.
Oh, goodness.
I know. People getting a little cocktail before they hop off to work.
Wow. Lisa, remember the first time you did it and I sent a text to you on Facebook or something and said, are you really at a bar at 6 o'clock?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it really all started because this bar that opens at 6 a.m., we thought it would be funny to be there when it opened. And that's how it started. And it's just progressed. And now all our kids participate and their friends, like lots of Spencer's friends were there this year. And So it's kind of fun. Not a lot of people show up at 6 a.m., but some of us do. So, Janet, any word on Mimi's son?
He came, I checked with her on Friday and she said he was home. And then we were looking at treatment places for him and she wasn't sure whether he would go in or not. But the fact, I mean, for so many days, she was just getting through it. And then the fact she saw him, he was home. I'm hoping that he got into treatment.
Yeah, it's been kind of ongoing with him, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he's had some things going on in his life. So
For
I
years.
like everybody reached out. Yeah, yeah.
If I may, I think we need to continue to send healing prayers and light to the entire family. It's tragic what she's going through and
Yes.
the whole family.
Right. I agree. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah. I guess she had talked to, was it Ilona or was it Marilyn? Somebody had said he's on his way home and he was. And so.
Yeah, this is such a good supportive group. So
That wasn't me. I sent her a private text, but I just want to say that was Marilyn.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it was Marilyn.
maybe it was working really hard at, getting up onto that dimension plane.
I still think you should do stand-up comedy, Lisa.
Yeah, I think it's a lot different when you're sitting there amongst friends versus. But then I couldn't have any of you in the audience because I'd be making fun of everybody. Yeah, so that's good. Not in this group though. We're all good. How are you doing, Marie?
Doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Monday, right?
I-
I've got dry eye, and with these winds, oh my goodness, my eyes are not happy.
Stay inside. That's what I do with it. It's
Yeah,
hard. It's
yeah.
tough.
Is it windy where you are right now?
Huh?
Is it windy where you are right now?
It's been windy since yesterday, like all night. But this morning it's still windy. I woke up with I've got chemosis, so anytime my eye gets really dry, that little fluid builds up in my eye there. And I saw that and it was red. I'm like, oh, and windows were closed, everything. I mean, I sleep with my eyes closed.
Doesn't do any good, does it? It doesn't do any good. You
Yeah,
wake up with yuck and
yeah. I go to the ophthalmologist and she always tells me you should not put any makeup on and put it. I said, I use all clean makeup. I'm not gonna wear makeup.
That's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Janet, do you have a little meditation today, or it's not important? We can focus on a conversation, or maybe resolve a conversation with the meditation afterwards if necessary.
I saw Ilona's eyes light up, like maybe she had someone.
Ilona's enjoying her breakfast.
It's actually my lunch. It's your breakfast.
Oh, sorry, Ilona.
I just want to ask Robbie and Idel, did you get snow?
A little bit more is coming today.
Yeah, we got
this
a
afternoon.
dusting and then it was gone and now it's rainy, but yes, more is coming this afternoon. And what did they say, Robbie, Wednesday? I think?
Yeah, Wednesday, another storm. Yeah.
Yeah.
We just had snow showers, but we're supposed to get a couple inches on Wednesday. So I just wanted to see.
Yeah.
So you guys enjoy your wind because we've got snow.
Right.
I just want to say I don't have any wind. It's been very quiet. I actually walked outside this morning. Granted, I was in a parka with a beanie and mitts and socks, but I did venture out this morning really early, and it's beautiful. There's
What was the temperature, Lisa, that you were in a parka?
I think it was 42 this morning.
Oh, so it's cool. Yeah.
It's cool.
The wind stopped for a couple hours, but when I was out, it was like icy. It felt so bad, so you're lucky, Lisa. I just in my head came up with one. If Ilona doesn't have one, I will do it.
Sure.
I was gonna say, Lisa, I would do something at the end based on where our conversation goes.
Okay.
So, right, I could do that.
Okay.
I know that we typically start with Marilyn's protection mantra.
Okay.
Idel, are you familiar with it?
Uh,
Mary Beth has it.
Are you looking for?
Well, I can say it. I say it all the time. So if you want someone
Go
to,
forward. Yeah.
Sure, Robbie, we all have it. So if you would like to go,
oh, okay,
it, then that would
That's
be
good.
great. Thank you.
And I just wanted to check with Maria how the baby is.
yes.
Thank you guys so much. Beautiful. Perfect. She's just
Oh.
back to her perfection. Thank you.
Yeah. How old is she, Maria?
2 months.
Oh.
2.
Let me see. Before November, December. Yeah, just 2 months.
And how are mom and dad doing?
They are, well, their path right now is quite the challenge. Because the week following her returning, my grandson got a bug bite that then developed some cellulitis around it. They had to take him in. And so, and they're not getting much sleep. And it's very challenging. But the opportunities for them to focus on their spiritual connection are abundant. And I'm just assisting and reinforcing that with them. It's just, you know what, God has this. God has this. Just, take care of yourselves.
Yeah.
It'll all be taken care of. And thankfully, so far it has. I mean, there are just so many little synchronicities, but not really. They're blessings that have occurred throughout. That's just beautiful. That's
That's
the
great.
challenging times are the times of growth and nuggets. Just gold nuggets come when you're willing to, be connected to
Sure.
see them. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
That was sweet. Thank you, Maria.
Well, thank you all for your
yeah.
prayers.
I don't know if most of you know, but Maria and I are high school friends, and we continue to have close contact with a number of our friends. And so it's kind of the interesting thing is, Maria sent a text out to all of us to say, to pray for her granddaughter. And it's just amazing to see how many people instantly, including with our group, are like, okay, here's the prayers and here's our, and I just found it's most heartwarming to see, people and it's not only, I always think of women as being strong and more nurturing and more loving, but in this particular group, we have a lot of guys and they were the first to jump on and say prayers and support. So I think it's such a sweet thing. It's very, what's the word? It's revealing in a way, because I think sometimes I'm very cynical. And when you see that many people step up and pray or ask for, prayers, I think it's it's lovely.
It
And
creates
Lisa,
hope. Yeah.
it does. And what I have learned myself in my own journey, to not rely on being the strong one and not ask for that help. That has been the barrier. And it has also prevented the opportunity, like Lisa said, for others to give what they have to give, to offer, to put that energy into the world. Because if it's never asked for, they don't know. And
That's right.
we never see it because we've never been, and that's the one thing I have learned is to ask and forget being the strong, self-sufficient woman. No.
And there's a lot to be said for that. And I think some of our therapist ladies can probably chime in and Ilona as well. But the very fact that we believe not to ask for help just reiterates our strength. But I think that vulnerability is what shows our strength, right? Being willing to be vulnerable in situations. It's just, Ilona, you wanted to say something?
So I have a topic if we want to go there, and it's what's happening in January. So it's really apropos for, this period of time, but it's not an easy topic. It's an important one. But if you would like, I will share it with us, and I'm sure it will take us somewhere.
Okay, so Robbie, you volunteered to do our protection prayer today. You may go ahead and do that, and then
Sure.
get started.
All right, I invite everyone to make sure your feet are flat on the floor and take in a slow breath in and release it slowly. Notice if you have any tension in your neck and shoulders or anywhere else, and give the tension permission to be released with every exhale. We clothe ourselves in a robe of light composed of the love, the power, and the wisdom of divine consciousness. We wear it not only for our own protection, but also so that those who see it or come in contact with it will be drawn to the divine and healed.
Thank you, Robbie.
My
Uh,
pleasure.
So Ilona, let's listen, let's get your topic and get some insight. And I just want everyone to know, no matter where this goes, that Ilona will take us on a positive ending, that we will have a nice meditation afterwards so that we start our week on a positive note. Right, Ilona?
Yes, Lisa.
All
No
right.
pressure.
All right, all yours, Ilona.
So this is happening, across the board. I'll share with you my particular story with it, but it doesn't mean that my topic is what's happening. The larger process is what's occurring. And this is the main gist of this is when hope becomes a burden. When hope becomes a burden. And so many times we hope for something for so many years, and we put ourselves into it, and we do our affirmations and we do our manifestations, and nothing ever happens. And people just get frustrated, they get angry, they get disillusioned, and they keep hoping, and they keep getting more frustrated, more disillusioned, and more angry. And so at that point, hope really becomes a burden, and that process creates a negative spiral rather than a positive one. Now, to get to this place requires some insight and awareness, because the general public is always looking at being hopeful, being hopeful, being hopeful. But if you're soul connected and soul aware, and you're being hopeful about something that's never happening, you need to pay attention, because it's not happening for a reason. And at that point, your hope is hurting you. It's not helping you. Mm-hmm. And so the sooner you can get in touch with what that is and release it, you have released a burden and a restriction that allows you to open up to what the soul actually wants to deliver to you, that is waiting for you to open up to. And so I'm bringing this up now because all of us are going to be hit with this. If you're on the path, it's going to happen to you one way or another. But if you know that it's happening, you can participate with it, and then you can let it take you to a much bigger and a much grander place. And the concept of hope for the ego is not the same as concept of hope for the soul. Right? They're two very, very different things. So what we're really talking about is a level of soul awareness that allows us to progress into the future without the limitations or restrictions of what the ego thinks is our best option. So all right, so that's the larger context. Now I'll give you my story so that you can make sense out of it, right? And give a personal connection to it. And so what I'm going to ask you to do right now is to really imagine that your brain is a raw oyster, slide it down your throat, let it sit on top of your heart and your chest, and let your heart love your brain. This is not a brain process. It's not going to work from a brain process. It's going to work from a soul-aware process that is heart-centered, really heart-centered. So I'm going to start with a really beautiful thing that happened to propel this journey that I am ardently on. So I have a really, really wonderful family. And so when we were in Spokane for Christmas, my sister and my brother-in-law are married over 40 years. My brothers are married over 20. My niece and her husband are married like 17, and they're all madly in love with each other still. I got to, for 10 days, I got to just witness this wonderful love and really gratefully appreciate that this level of loving is in our family. I mean, how many families can say they don't have any divorces? I mean, that's a big deal, right? And so I'm very grateful for it. I'm very appreciative of it. And of course, I've been single my whole life. So it's just in my face. And I have held out hope. And I've done like month-long processes to awaken love. I've done dating things. I can't even get a wink or a conversation. In all the dating services, can't even get nothing, right? It's actually, at one point I did this conscious singles and I did everything. I had the picture, I did everything. I didn't get one hit, nothing. And I looked at the heavens and I said, okay, that's a message. Got it. Okay, got it. And at the same time, I'm somebody who's had to bring through the codes for enlightened relationship and settle them into the beds, the crystal beds in Arkansas to be sent to the crystal beds in Brazil. So I have this whole understanding about loving that's very, very different that's come from this other source. So when I got back from there and I was home for like a day or two and I felt like really weird, I woke up one morning and I just said to the heavens, well, if you're not going to give me love, then I'm going to get myself a new living room. And in my living room, the sofa that's in there is 17 years old. And I had to fight for, that was the first and last relationship that I've ever had. I had to fight for him to buy me that sofa because he had a psychotic break and threw all my furniture away.
Oh, really?
So I've been sitting in that energy for all this time because I just didn't want to spend the money on it. And honestly, I didn't have a lot to spend on it. I moved some things around, but it wasn't enough. I'm going to change the whole freaking living room. And I bought a sofa. It's lavender velvet and it's and everything is built around a lavender velvet. And I'll tell you, I sat in the Lazy Boar store with the lavender velvet piece right next to me. And for just 30 seconds, I felt my life transform. That's before it's even arrived. So I'm like, I'm on the right path. I'm on the right path here. Okay, let's go. So and then I recognized that hope had really become a burden. And so I went through my grieving process. Oh my God, I had affirmation stuff. I scratched them out and I beat them up on my prayer sheet. And I told the heavens, you can just go shove this. And so I just really, I'm like, I'm in this, I'm moving this. And it's all connected to my shoulder, which I'm in PT for. So I'm paying attention to it and I'm working all that out. And so, okay, it's 2 weeks in, I let it go. I go for my energy session and I'm going like, I released it, whatever. And in comes this massive new level of divine feminine energy and an expansion in the chest cavity and heart chakra that I can't even describe to you. And it's just begun. It's what we think is the divine feminine and what's coming in as the divine feminine are so beyond what we know about being a woman. Like it's so beyond. But I'm at the very beginnings of it. So I'm like, whoa, got rid of that and look what's happening here. I'm like, whoa, this is really, really, really great. But in order to get that, I had to release all of the useless male energy that was in my entire auric field. I've had so many useless men in my life. There's a useless man in the neurological thing, just men who just couldn't fulfill themselves, couldn't get beyond themselves, just burden and whatever. And so so I get this new feminine energy, and then I get hit with this. And we did a family Christmas with my one cousin who's 85, who brought her book of genealogy, right? And was showing us all these different things, some things we knew, some things we didn't know. And it's more useless men. And so yesterday I was just such a basket case, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And so now I've got to do a massive release of all useless men in 9 generations on both the mom and dad side, to just really clear that out and let all those guys, wherever they are, figure out how to fulfill themselves. The good news is that my dad has been reincarnated for a while. He's in his early 20s somewhere in Yugoslavia, and he's doing a lot better than he did when he was alive. So amen, hallelujah to that. You know, he's moving in the right direction. But all of this started because that hope was a burden. And when I released the hope and I let go of the burden, in a matter of 3 weeks, all this kind of stuff is now fully in motion. And I do have to say that all the men in my life now are extremely useful to me. I have not one useless man in my life. And I can really say that I am super appreciative and grateful for the fact that I can depend on every single man in my life, and they will show up for me in a heartbeat. So I'm doing something right. So anyway, does this give you a bigger sense of hope as a burden and what happens when you release it?
Sure. I mean, absolutely. It was an exceptional example, Ilona. And I think one that a lot of us can relate to. Yeah, I saw you nodding a little bit, Janet, in regards to the hope as a burden. Without Ilona's explanation, were you questioning that?
Yeah, no, I was really trying to figure it out, because I think that, you know, like the relationship thing I had, and then, you know, once I got one and realized what a burden I've lost that desire for a committed relationship. But I was trying to think of, you know, sometimes I hope for this money to be able to help my kids or whatever it's going to be. But I think the world is changing, so that it may not even be something I have to hold on to so strongly. But I think I have another part of me, like when I went to Africa, they did a thing called throwing the bones, and they tell your future, the witch doctors, about the bones that you throw. And they said, money will come and go in your life. It just kind of comes and it goes. And that's how it is. And so I just look at it like that and go, that's fine. I mean, I never do without. I make myself crazy thinking about it, so I can let go of thinking about it. That's probably what I would do, because I don't want to spend a lot of mental energy on something that is going to work out, or it's not. And I don't have control. I'm doing the best I can. So that's where I could look at it, and not to worry or put useless energy into things. I don't know if that's similar, Ilona, but that's what I was thinking of.
So that does address this, because that hope that money's going to come or that's going to be there, you're preoccupied with it. And that preoccupation becomes the burden. And when you release the preoccupation and you just stay in the process of opening up to abundance, you're not stuck in hope that takes you all over the place. You're just in the process of welcoming an abundance. And abundance isn't just financial wealth. Abundance is everything. And the younger generations coming up, they're coming into a world that is so vastly different than the one that we came up in. So vastly different. And the resources that they're going to need aren't necessarily going to be financial ones in the way that we think about resources. You're right.
Sometimes I just go stand in the sun, because we did the surrender, trust, allow, and receive. And when we were talking about being able to ask and being able to receive, if I just go stand in the sun on a cold day like this, I go, I'm receiving all the time, that warm sun, and I don't have to do anything except just go stand in it. And that makes me think about abundance in so many different ways. And it really helps me.
And that's
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Ilona.
But that's better than standing there and hoping that $1 million check is going to appear in your mailbox. It's better to stand in the receiving than in that hope of a dream.
But Janet, for our newbies, can you explain STAR to them?
Oh, oh yeah. Yeah. And welcome to some of the people that I haven't met so much, but surrender, trust, allow, and receive. So we use that acronym. Yeah. And surrender, like I think you're talking about the same thing, Ilona, is that if we're trying to force something and we're hitting a roadblock all the time, why not surrender to what the universe is there? It's always opening up pathways, and we just have to walk through it. Then we have to trust that it's going to work out when we try these new things, or get this intuition that we're going to walk down this pathway. And then allow. There's so much that we as givers, people say, oh, let me do this for you. And we don't even allow it. And we're blocking that energy of somebody who wants to give to us. And we would think how we'd feel if you wanted to make a cake for somebody and they say, no, you can't. It would feel like they're blocking your energy. So we have to allow it and then get really comfortable with receiving. I think all of these people, the women here, are huge givers. What if we learn to receive at a level that we can even give more, because it keeps the cycle going? So that's the star: surrender, trust, allow, and receive. And I always think about Mary Beth, because she and I like that one, right?
That's like Mary Beth's favorite.
Because it's so hard to integrate, right? So it's like, okay, surrender? Are you kidding me? I'm a control freak. I can't surrender. It has to come from me. Right? So yeah. Can you address resistance, Ilona? Because when you see the path and you don't go down it, what happens?
Hurts. It hurts. It hurts. I mean, it physically hurts, it mentally hurts, emotionally hurts. Your memories become locked into negative spirals, and your experience of the divine really is tainted because you don't feel like you're being cared for or supported or anything like that. And resistance is an ego-based process. It is not a soul-based process. Whenever you're in resistance, your ego is screaming and shouting because it isn't getting its way. And the more that, when you're in resistance, you can just stop. I mean, all day yesterday, I would have moments where I'm just crying my eyes out. And then I was having moments of irritability, and I didn't have any food left, but I wasn't leaving the house. So I ate out of the freezer in the pantry until I could sort of figure this thing out. And I'm like, what the heck is this? And so that resistance was coming from parts of me that I didn't even know were active. And I just kept on a scavenger hunt until I could sort of access. And this morning I called a friend because I'm like, I just need to talk this out. Just let me talk it out. And within 10 minutes, I was like, got it, done. And in a half hour, it was all taken care of. But I couldn't do that on my own because the parts of my field that were resisting that awareness were just causing such distress. And I'm like, and I'm the one who knows that it's going on, and I couldn't get there on my own, right? So this speaks to, we need to reach out. We need to collaborate with each other. And when I went to PT, after I had that healing session with the new divine feminine energy, he got in there and there was a lot of progress. And then there was still that energy. And I said, well, what muscle is it? He says, no, it's the collaboration of the entire shoulder girdle. And I went, collaboration. So that's where I got to go now. Collaboration with the masculine and feminine energy inside of me. But if you don't understand what you're resisting, you can't fix it. So the key is to get someone or to sit with your soul long enough until you hear what it is, and then you can really get rid of that pretty quickly. The last thing I want to say, and this goes to Janet, to what you were saying, I watched the movie Noble on Netflix. I think it's Netflix, and it's the story of Christina Noble, an Irish woman who creates foundations to care for street children all around the world. But it starts in Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City. But she has this awful childhood and an even more terrible teenage and young adulthood. And there's all these times where she's in church, she's Irish, and she's talking to the Blessed Mother. She's saying, I'm not going to be talking nice to you, and I'm going to be cursing at you, and you're going to hear this because this is just not right. And I know that you're taking care of me, but I don't understand what's going on. The nun stole her child, right? In the 60s, the nun stole her child. She didn't even know she was signing him away. I mean, all this kind of stuff happened to her. And she was like, you lost a son, I lost a son. This is just not right. You're going to hear from me. And so she kept going, kept going, kept going. And in Ho Chi Minh City, when she's trying to save the street children right after the Vietnam War, she goes into a church and she lets the Blessed Mother have it, like rams her. And she says, I'm going to be walking and you tell me where to go. And this is happening now. And she literally leaves the church and she walks and walks and walks until a kite falls on her over a building fence. She takes the kite in through the door, and it was the only orphanage run by the Vietnamese government. And that was the beginning of her journey into saving over 700,000 children's lives.
Wow.
So in terms of resistance, Mary Beth, there you go. That is a great movie to watch in terms of somebody moving through resistance and being triumphant.
Wow. Yes,
Thank
Sophia.
you.
Hi, hello. I'm just so happy to see everybody. You know, can I just say that?
You can say that. That's perfect.
Look at everybody's faces for a second. You know, I don't have a story that's inspirational like Miss Noble, which, gosh, what appropriately named woman, right?
Wow.
And I'm not, I mean, I may have heard it, but I wasn't that familiar with STAR, you know, the acronym, but I like it. And it made me, when Ilona was talking about her story about the burden of hope, right? It made me think of something that Mary Beth is acquainted with, which is my relationship with my child. I worked so hard on it. I mean, I gave every ounce of my being, but he is in a place. I finally had to say, okay, I have to stop trying to fix everything. I have to stop trying to insert myself into every school issue he has, every home issue, stop trying to go and rescue him because he does not want to be rescued. You know, he's got a lot of issues. He's a teenage boy who's 17, who's adopted. And he's having, you know, he has attachment issues. He had some serious issues last year. He didn't go to school one day. Maybe he'd go, but he wouldn't go into the classroom. And he was hearing voices. And his dad is a very hostile person, and he's living with his dad right now, and he's preventing really the relationship between me and my son to continue in a healthy way. And so I just knocked my head. I was calling every psychiatrist. I was calling his other therapist. I was arranging all of his treatment. And I realized I was just getting pushback from everybody. And so I finally had to just decide to sit back and watch what develops, which is not to say I don't text him all the time. And I wasn't there. I didn't fight like a dog to see him at Christmas, but generally the fighting like a dog was every day. So, you know, I'm just waiting to see, you know, everyone says he's going to be better. He will grow up and understand. So that's what I'm waiting for. So that's the surrender, the trust, and maybe the allowing. So we'll wait for the receive.
Yeah.
So the thing about release hope that's a burden means that you love better, not less. You love better, and loving better in an unconditional way isn't the way we necessarily want to love. It's about learning how to love them in the way they need it. And sometimes that loving is from afar.
Yeah, I think that's, you know, that seems to be the case. And, you know, we only get this one shot that we're aware of, that we remember at life. So, you know, we're just, you know, here we are at our age. still learning. So we'll see what happens.
Still learning. I think that's probably, for us that have children, that's, such a challenge that, there's this ideal of how your child should, they should walk the red carpet and say, thanks, I love my mom more than anything in the world. And it's all because of my mom that I'm here. You see this all the time. And, it's doubtful that my son will ever say anything like that ever. As much as I wish that he would, idolize me in that way because I'm the most perfect mother ever. I think it's a personality difference between the two of us. The way that I approach things and the way he does things are completely different. And it's disappointing to me because I feel like, gosh, at that very moment that I had you and I've been with you and I've nurtured you and loved you despite everything, your messy room. So it doesn't turn out as we think it should. And
I'm sorry. Go ahead, honey.
I was just going to say, I think I had to let go of that idealistic relationship with my son and realize he's his own individual. And that's what I did. I raised a unique kid to have his own opinions and his, whether or not he thanks me on the red carpet. It's doubtful again, but I do think that that was my gift to him. It's certainly not the way I wished it turned out. But I think I gave him the gift of being able to, have his own. I mean, your situation is a little different, Sophia, but yeah, I just think that we do the best we can, right? I look at my mom, for example. She, by all standards, she was an awful mother. And however, I can look back and think to myself that those are the only tools she had, and she did the very best she could. It's not the mom I wanted. I wanted someone to take me shopping and have lunch with me and have, instead of me, ruining the fact that I'm going to have to go spend 7 days with her in a car. She just wants to bond. And I'm like, I'm almost 60. It's a little late to bond, but I think we have to let, just like Ilona said, we have these aspirations and hopes of how we think things should be. And the reality is the minute we let all that go, it's exactly as it should be. And that's hard. It's ego, right? Ego's plays in that, and it's really difficult. So
I like that you reiterated the ego part. The resistance comes from ego, Ilona had said. And that is so true. And I have been described recently as a very strong woman. And that's people who knew me as a teenager. So that's really scary. What does that say about how hard it is for me to take my finger, to pry my hands off of every, off of things that need to be fixed, So that is, you are so wise, Lisa. Hey, this is not totally on point, but when you said that, Lisa, about, I'm not like holding my breath for him to come and do a salam in front of me and say, oh, dear mother, thank you for everything. Do you guys think of your own parents that way and wish that maybe now that you are where you are, you could go and say, now I really understand and I want to thank you? Because I do.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I think anybody else that would like to share with that point, I certainly am not there yet.
I'd love to share on that.
Yeah, look, please, Maria.
And it hit me at different points in my life. And I always said, when I first was engaged to get married and got married, my appreciation for my father just grew immensely because I was adulting in my own life. And I looked to see him, because I would see him struggling to pay the bills on the kitchen table late at night, and not really connect with, what he was doing. But once I was doing it for myself, I like, oh, now I get it. When I had my first child, my appreciation for my mom just blew over. for what my appreciation for my father was. And that was just because of the fact of having this totally dependent life form in my arms. And she had 5. And I'm just like, I don't know how you did it, you know? So also in reverse, having my own children, because I had those connections with those thoughts earlier, I somehow had this appreciation that these children were not mine, that they were on loan to me. So as they were growing, and as my youngest one was my challenging one, because he would push, I mean, he was actually diagnosed with ODD, ADHD. And when he got that diagnosis, he was having trouble in school with learning. And I just knew that there was something, you know, I wanted to get him the help he needed. And, you know, and then he got that. I'm like, oh, I get it. You know, I just like, I understand that. Yes. But I also too realized the difficulties and the challenges I had with him when I realized he was there. And it's just this, I don't know, innate knowledge. It's like, God gave you me. God gave you to me so that I can grow stronger, because I had to challenge how to help him best, but still allow him to be the best he could be without overpowering and dictating, no, you've got to do it this way. So I knew that I had to just watch him and see, okay, what works best for him, do my best to try and, you know, get him. And thankfully, throughout his course of life, I mean, he's doing wonderful. I mean, and in fact, both of my sons, you know, having gone through the emotional burden of divorce and everything that happened, they have both, and I've allowed them, because I've always said the prayer throughout their growing up was, I just know I need to do what I know is right in my heart and my soul. So that's where I stood in my relationship to their father, in relationship to them and their relationship with their father. I just released it. And I did, you know, pray a lot to God, just saying, I know that they will see when they are old enough, that they will see what I did and why I did it. During the time that it happened, it was hell, because every time they came home from their father, it was a whole upheaval and it was just hell. But I just held on to that prayer, you know, they will see. And so happily to this day, we do have a great relationship, in that I've often jokingly asked them individually, so tell me, growing up, this is what I thought as you guys were going through. Tell me your perspective. And then they laugh now and they're like, oh my God, Mom. I mean, yeah, you know, you're right. I go, you were right. So they have told me I'm right. I was right in my perspective of them being able to see when they were older, when they were grown. And so that appreciation does come around. But I think the key for me was knowing I was standing in the place of what was right for me in my soul, of what I knew I had to do. But allowing that disconnection from that, it had to be me to push them through life. So I just needed to be a loving presence in their life so that they could return when they needed to. And I had to go through what I needed to. But I benefited from that, like with my younger son, because I grew stronger spiritually and also emotionally, you know. But my older son too taught me lessons along the way, because he would pipe in with comments that when I was struggling with my younger son, like, well, how about just letting him do that? How about just allowing him? And of course, at the time, my ego was like, you are a child. How do you know? What do you know about parenting? When you have your own children, then you can, you know, I was thinking that and saying that. But then it would strike me, and I paused, and later it just played out the right way. And I just realized I'm learning from them just as much as they are supposed to be learning from me. So now it's completely I look at children as the spiritual souls that they are, coming here to teach us. And I'm seeing it with my own grandchildren. I am seeing it with my own grandchildren. It's like, oh, you're
Yeah.
teaching us. You're
That's
teaching
lovely,
us. just-
Maria. That's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
wonderful. That's very thought-provoking.
Yeah, very enlightened, Maria. Like, yeah. I tell you,
Although,
was just
my kids
get
young
eat
enough.
something than pasta. Go ahead, Sophia.
Oh, no, I was just going to say something silly. My kid's young enough that I have seen the movie Frozen 100 times. And I was thinking of the music of the Let It Go song. So that's our theme.
Just let it go, let it go. That's right. As we're coming around here in this conversation, does anybody else want to share before Ilona does a little meditation for us? Is there anybody that wants to add to this? Go ahead, Mary Beth.
My parents were pretty dysfunctional, but it was okay to an extent. And I was really angry at them for being that way. And so when I came around, I decided that I was grateful to them for the gifts they gave me. They gave me some amazing gifts. Just putting it out there. I was able to turn it that way so that it wasn't always this anger that my ego saying, you didn't give me what I want.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard though, isn't it? It is hard sometimes to look at that. It's ego, right, Ilona?
The other thing I would say is, this sounds a little corny, but it's true. So when when my parents were alive and my brother and I would visit, we always would say, I love you before we go to bed at night. And my dad died of a heart attack one day. And I said, I love you before I went to bed that night. And those were the last words I said to him. So there's something to really think about, what are those words you want to leave the people you love with? Because you never know if they're going to be the last ones. And with mom, I actually got to talk to her and help her over to the other side over the phone. And she just said, oh, my precious, I love you. And she called me her mushki. And in 1 minute, she was dead. And I was there helping her over with the Blessed Mother, wrapping her veil around my sister and her, and I watched her just rise into the heavens. So, be conscious of the words that you say at those moments. Even if people aren't able to respond well to you, you can still say something kind, and then those will be the last words you'll know that you've delivered.
Yes, Penny.
I would say somebody mentioned somebody had 5 children. I don't remember who it was. Was it you, Sophia, or somebody else? Who had 5?
My mom.
Your mom.
Maria's parents, family.
And I came from a family, or I do come from a family of 5 children too. And it's difficult. I think it's hard for parents to be able to give all the love and the attention any one of those particular children needs, on a regular basis. At least that's the way I found it. But I also realized that as I look back on that it really contributed to my probably in many ways strong independence about things and moving forward and just doing it, whether if I had all the support I needed or not. And that was a gift that I didn't recognize as a gift for a long time, but I do now. And when I had my own children, I have 2 sons. I just wanted them to become whoever they were supposed to become and support them. And, they had their issues, and one of them had more issues than the other. And it was like, what, if you want to drag yourself through the mud, go ahead. I'm not going to support that. And he did for a while, and then he stopped. So I'm not saying I'm any great mother or anything. It's just things that you, what this hope routine is, if you hope that child gets out of it, with the least amount of damage, that's kind of something that's worthwhile thinking about, but they have to do it themselves, is what I'm trying to say. And being supportive has a lot of different connotations. And I hope that I was supportive in a way, well, here I hope. I'm thinking that it might be good that if I was supportive in a certain way that helped him get on the right track for himself, then I feel good about that. And I think it's borne itself out. So I'm not patting myself on the back or anything like that, because if you go through years of all kinds of different ups and downs with all that. But I think the ideas that have been brought forth by all these, by Sophia and Maria and Lisa and everybody who's spoken, and Jan, are they just kind of comfort me, shall I say. I feel okay about who I am and what I have been to my children, and I appreciate that, and I thank you all.
Thank you, Penny.
You're welcome.
Anybody else before we, anybody?
Lisa, what I was going to say is if you'd had more kids, you might have one, Spencer's got a different personality style, but out of my 3 kids, 2 of them would do the red carpet why like my mom was so good. And the other one would say she was so tough because our personalities were so different. And so it's just a numbers game. If you just have more kids.
That would have required me to stay married longer, and that wasn't going to happen.
Maybe not.
So, okay, Ilona, the floor is yours.
All right, I'm just gonna get a wind chime. If you have crystals, get a hold of them and put some in your hands. This is the element of water. So we want to move that resistance through, create a lot of fluidity. Make sure you have a crystal in your left hand in particular.
Can you say what you said about water again?
We're using the element of water, fluidity, movement, releasing resistance, Mary Beth.
Thank you.
And crystal in your left hand if you have it.
So imagine yourself in a lavender waterfall, and there's a lavender pool beneath you that connects to a river that leads to a beautiful white ocean. And you're sitting on a beautiful rock ledge, and it's warm but not wet, and all around you are angels in the colors of lavender, purple, pink, magenta, and white. And as you're sitting on this ledge, release all of those hopes that have become burdens, all of those ego wishes that have imprisoned your heart, any of those ego desires that have entrapped your mind. And feel all of those ego resistances melting away as your heart continues to love your brain inside your chest cavity. Now release all of those people that you have that hope for, and send their energy into this lavender waterfall and let them find their own way. Let them find their own vehicles, their own vessels, their own support. knowing that this current will carry them very gently to the place of acknowledgement, recognition, and openness that will lead them to a beautiful, fulfilling future for themselves. See them coming out of your brain, out of your heart, out of your gut, out of your hands. Set them free to feel their own empowerment. And as they go, relax into the gentle calm, the peaceful strength, and the deepened love that are yours, that belong to you, that you can then share as you see fit, as you feel called. Now notice that the waterfall is turning a deep purple, a beautiful magenta. And this powerful love is pouring into your heart, your mind, and your gut. And your breath is deepening, and your presence is growing, and your strength is rising. And love is all that you know. Gently step through the magenta waterfall, standing up on the ledge, walking through it, and to your right is a beautiful rose garden. And this beautiful magenta energy radiating from you, find a bench in the rose garden. Allow yourself to feel the presence of you and feel an enormously beautiful aroma coming out of a magenta rose beginning to blossom in your chest cavity. Joining your aroma with all of the beautiful aromas of these roses in this garden that are the loves of your lives. And these loves are there whether they know it or not, whether they're behaving well or not. This is your rose garden. And in the end, all that remains is the beauty, the aroma, and the loving presence of all that is. And so it is. Was that good, Lisa? Are you happy?
Absolutely perfect, Ilona. Thank you so much. I think actually the topic was splendid. I think it really, there's a lot of us that I think gained something from it, and I appreciate everyone that contributed their personal stories today. And thank you, Ilona, for the topic. really was, I think it hit home for a lot of us. So it's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hoping everybody has a great week. And let's try it again next Monday, if that's okay with you guys.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.